All right, let's talk best defensive rookies. So, well, that's not what we're doing actually. It's going to be rookies that I think have the best odds of winning defensive rookie of the year. So that doesn't necessarily mean guys I think will have the best season, because I am factoring in things like, certain positions tend to win the award or are more likely to win the award than other positions, right? Edge rushers win it more than safeties, kind of thing. So I am factoring that in. Also, when you get drafted, if you get drafted earlier or considered a hyped up prospect, a lot of times you end up getting more, you end up getting more attention when you make a play than someone who was a 7th round pick. Like Kobe Turner, in my opinion, should have won the award last year, with all due respect to Will Anderson Jr., but he was never going to win it because he was a 6th round pick, right? Yeah, so he wasn't really talked about as much as he should have been. But long tangent over. Let's get into my list. Starting off with number 10. I did go with Kool-Aid McKinstry, who there's several issues with him winning the award. And while I have a number of cornerbacks on this list, because I think there's a lot of good corners, I think the issue is that, you usually need to have, a Sauce Gardner-esque season to win the award. I mean, usually you have to go really, be really strong at the cornerback position to win it. I don't know if he'll quite do that. I think he could be really good in this scheme. I think he'll work really well for the Saints and could end up being, if I was just ranking who I thought had the best odds of being the best defensive rookie, I think I would put him higher on this list. But, the fact that he was a 2nd-round pick also hurts his stock, as, a lot of people were higher on other players and are going to talk them up more. So because of that, there's still enough talent there for me that I'm still willing to put him on the list, but I kind of had to put him at 10. Number 9, I went with Johnny Newton, who, again, there's a couple things working against him. For one, position you play, it's harder to rack up sacks the way you can with an edge rusher, so usually that kind of hurts it. The fact that he was a 2nd-round pick, so not going to get the attention that some other guys get, and plays for Washington, which doesn't get the attention that some other teams get, unless they end up having a surprising good season, which is possible with a young quarterback, but still. I think he's good enough, though, that, again, he warrants being on the list. I don't think it's crazy that he could rack up some numbers and have a Kobe Turner-esque rookie year, and maybe with him being a 2nd-round pick, that would be enough to potentially get him the award. It's certainly possible, so that's why he's at number 9. Number 8, I'm going with Jared Verse, the edge rusher for the Rams, who I think will come in and get a lot of playing time right away, which is always a necessary component of winning the award, is being able to start right away, which I think he will be able to do. I do think that the Rams, I think he's a good enough player, and the Rams I brought up Kobe Turner, they also added another interior defensive lineman in Braden Fisk. So they'll have some guys that can get some attention off of him, and he is someone that I could see him turning his pressures into sacks maybe at a higher rate than some other players. So again, a lot of times it does come down to who ends up with the most sacks that gets the award, although not always. I think NFL voters have gotten smarter over the years, but still, it could happen. I think he's a good enough player. I'm going to put him at 8. And number 7, I'm going Chop Robinson, who I definitely have, I'm a big fan of him as a prospect. I do have some concerns about, how quickly will he be able to translate to the NFL level. Also, Dolphins do have a lot of edge rushers. A lot of them are coming off injuries. So, we don't know what to expect. But will Robinson get a ton of snaps, or is he only going to get 800 snaps would be a lot. Is he only going to get 500, 600? That would be an issue. So because of that, it hurts his stock a little bit, but he's a good enough edge rusher. I'm willing to still put him at 7. Number 6, I'm going Nate Wiggins. We actually have a few corners in a row to go here. So first, you got to feel confident about Nate Wiggins as a Baltimore corner. Usually those guys, get opportunity to showcase how good they are, and I do think the Ravens will put him in positions to succeed. The only concern is kind of similar to what I said with Chop Robinson. How much playing time is he going to get? Is he going to get 1,000 snaps? Maybe. And because of that, I still put him on the list relatively high at number 6. But is he going to be someone who they kind of rotate in and out because they have other corners? We're just going to have to wait and see. And so because of that, he's at number 6. Number 5, I'm going Terrion Arnold, the Detroit Lions corner, who again could have a very quality season. I think for them, I do think that the Lions have really worked on adding corner depth. So there is a chance he could not get a ton of playing time, but I think he will. I think he'll be out there for most of the playing time, which was kind of the differentiating factor for me between him and Wiggins, who I think they're kind of, I have them, it was similar grades in terms of how I think they'll be as prospects, but with Arnold probably getting more playing time, and both teams are very good, so they're both going to get attention that way. I think I feel like I have to go with Arnold. One thing that could also help Arnold too, though, is I do wonder if the secondary looks a lot better. People will talk about it like, wow, secondary really improved year in and year out, and they might talk about some of the additions, and while Arnold isn't the only addition, he might get the most of the credit, so that could help out that as well. Number 4 is the Eagles corner, Quinyon Mitchell, who you maybe might think this is kind of a step backwards because, wait, you have Mitchell ahead of Arnold, but you're kind of talking about how much playing time could matter. It's true that Mitchell might not get as much playing time as Arnold, in which case he probably wouldn't win the award, right? But the reason why I still feel confident enough to put him higher is I just like him a lot as a player. I just think he's really good, and if he does come in and get playing time, which is I think what'll end up happening, and is out there for most of the season, I think he could be really good, and he could be a star player for them. Again, would it be enough to get the award? It's going to be tough for a corner, which is why, even though I really like these corners, I have them further down on. None of them make the top 3. All the top 3 players are defensive linemen. I could still see something happening. Number 3, I decided to go Byron Murphy, the interior defensive lineman now for Seattle, who, again, I could see a scenario where he ends up like being the best player but not getting the award. It's harder when you aren't an edge rusher, when you're an interior defensive lineman. Similar stuff I talked about with Johnny Newton. Now, the benefit, most people had him as kind of a fringe top 10 player, so there's going to be more eyes on him. Seattle, I think, should be a fringe playoff team like they have been the past couple years, so you'll get attention that way. I think the question is, can he get the counting stats? Can he get the sacks to make it work? But he's a good enough player. I'm still willing to put him at 3. Number 2, Le'u Latu, who was the first defensive player taken in this draft class, so you got to put him pretty high on the list. But just in general, I think he's a really good player. He's an NFL ready, should be able to get a lot of pressures. To me, I think that I could easily see Latu like being the consensus like analytics community pick for defensive rookie of the year, because it seems like a lot of his stuff is going to translate in the kind of the greasier, underreported stats that are like pass rush win rate. I could see him getting a lot of pressures, things like that. I do wonder with the Colts how much of it is going to have to be him doing it all on his own. Not to say that there isn't help around him, but there's other players that maybe have more help around them. But I think he'll be able to be a really good player right away. So he's at number 2. Number 1, I'm going with Dallas Turner, who, I think there's 3 really strong things working for him. For one, I think that the fact that he plays for a team that loves to blitz will certainly help. The Vikings love to blitz. He should be a good edge rusher who doesn't necessarily need blitzing to make it work, but when you blitz, gives you more one-on-one matchups, so it's not like teams can put all their attention on Turner, and you might just get some cleanup sacks that way on top of it. So that's the number 1 thing he has going for him. Number 2, he was a really hyped up prospect. In fact, he was number 1 on the consensus big board among defensive players. So definitely you get the eyeballs on you. You get people wanting to be able to say, see, I told you Dallas Turner would be the best pass rusher, as they're the ones who vote for him to win defensive rookie of the year, right? You get some of that going. And number 3, the other thing that really is working in his favor is he's a good player, and he should be able to be effective right away. So while he wasn't my number 1 edge rusher, I did have Latu ahead of him. I don't think it's a crazy take to have Turner at number 1. And I certainly think that in the situation he's in, I'm expecting him to rack up a lot of pressures and sacks and counting stats, and usually that's what gets you the awards. So on top of it, I think he's a good player and could just earn the awards. So all that being said, that's why I have him at number 1. But yeah, those are my thoughts. What are yours? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from y'all. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.